dark things. She hesitated, biting her lip, gathering the courage to voice her haunting discovery. I don't want to be just a bystander in your life. Then don't be. He stepped even closer, barely a breath apart now. His warmth enveloped her, yet she felt an aching distance behind his stance. You're not just a bystander. You never were. Sefina studied his eyes, searching for truth amid the passion she felt amplifying in this moment, the delicious stir of yearning mixing with a pang of dread. But you talk about protecting me like it's your job. I'm not some delicate flower you can shield from the world. I can fight. Fighting won't solve everything. Zaire's voice was softer now, but the resolve remained. You have no idea what I'm facing, what I'm trying to protect you from. And you're trying to protect me by keeping me in the dark? She shot back, her voice rising, mimicking the atmosphere's mounting tension outside. I want to be in the light, Zaire. I deserve to know. Thunder rumbled like a growl above them. Outside, the rain cascaded in sheets, and she felt the tempest's energy mirroring the turmoil within her. Yet, amidst their heated exchange, Sefina's heart thumped louder, racing with an adrenaline rush she had never anticipated. There are things that we can't change, Zaire said, his tone deepening, threading a fine line between urgency and tenderness. But what I can change is protecting you. Sefina, you're delicate, she interrupted, fire sparking in her eyes. Weak, you don't get to decide that for me. Forceful, he countered, his voice holding her gaze captive. If I decided you were weak, I wouldn't be here, fighting to keep you safe. You're a force of nature. Sefina's breath hitched at the compliment, but the vulnerability in his posture lingered above them like the storm clouds outside. Then help me understand your world. I can't hold on to a piece of you without knowing the whole of it. For a long moment, silence enveloped the room. The storm seemed to pause, as if the universe held its breath in anticipation. Zaire's features softened, and the walls around him crumbled just a bit. I can do that. His voice trailed, heavy with unspoken promises. And in that instant, she felt a rush, part relief, part fear that the truth could reveal more than just their identities. Perhaps it would unearth the very core of them both. I want you to see me, Sefina, he whispered, almost to himself. The real me, before it's too late. The rain intensified, but in that moment, Sefina saw the truth in his eyes and realized what she believed to be darkness might just hold the light she had been searching for all along. Scene 32, Rising Tensions. The sun was setting over the city, casting long shadows through the expansive windows of Zaire Oladipo's penthouse. The room was dimly lit, the soft golden light clashing with the sleek modern lines and dark wood furniture. A faint hum of jazz played from a distant speaker, its soulful notes barely penetrating the simmering silence that filled the space between Zaire and Sefina Agbo. Sefina stood near the edge of the black marble kitchen island, her fingertips tracing the cool surface, her gaze locked on the city skyline that glimmered like a field of stars splashed against the night's canvas. You can't keep doing this, she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper, yet tinged with urgency. Zaire leaned against the wall, arms crossed tightly over his broad chest, the tension in his muscles as palpable as the air thick with unspoken words. Doing what exactly? He replied, his voice cool but laced with hidden heat, betraying a hint of frustration. Living like you're invincible, she shot back, spinning around to face him. Every time I hear you walk in late, it's like your life is a damn roulette wheel. Do you even care about what happens to you? He pushed himself away from the wall, the sudden movement punctuating the charged atmosphere. Of course I care about. Do you? Sefina interrupted, eyes narrowing. Because it doesn't seem that way. It feels like you're planning your own demise with every reckless decision. She paused, inhaling deeply, her voice softer now. And I can't. Can't what? Can't stay away? His expression shifted subtly, frustration morphing into something more complex. Vulnerability flickered briefly in his dark eyes before it was carefully tucked away. Sefina took a step closer, the scent of sandalwood and fresh linen enveloping them as she crossed the distance between them. I can't watch you throw yourself into the fire because it's thrilling. I may not know exactly what's going on, but I can sense the danger lurking underneath. Zaire's heart raced at the proximity, perilously aware of her presence, the warmth radiating from her body, wrapping around him like a protected embrace. You have no idea what I'm trying to protect you from." "Then make me part of it," she exclaimed, frustration breaking through her carefully constructed calm. "I'm not some delicate flower to shield. If you think keeping me in the dark will keep me safe, you're wrong." "Do you want to be part of my world?" he asked, voice dropping to an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. "It's not a world for someone like you, Sefina. I'm in too deep." "Someone like me?" she echoed, incredulous. "What does that even mean when you're the one who invited me into this life?" "Into your life." Her passion surged as she planted her hands on her hips. "Is this how you plan to save me? By pushing me away?" A heavy silence hung between them, broken only by the distant sounds of city life merging into the jazz melody. The weight of his secrets loomed overhead, his dark dealings swirling dangerously close to surfacing, and Zaire wrestled with a tidal wave of emotion. Sometimes, pushing away is the only way to protect those we care about. Sefina stepped forward, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Zaire, if you keep shutting me out, you're going to lose me." The flicker of hurt in her eyes was sharp, pulling desperately at the threads of Zaire's resolve. "Damn it, Sefina," he snapped, the frustration spilling over. "I can't lose anyone else. You don't understand the stakes." "And you don't understand me," she countered, tears brimming but unshed. "I'm not looking for a knight in shining armor. I just want honesty. You." Zaire faltered, the fight simmering down as an emotional tide surged through them. He took a tentative step closer, his thumb brushing against her cheek, the touch tender yet charged. "What if I said I'm terrified of losing you?" "Then stop pushing me away," she replied, leaning into his hand, breathing slowly, the walls between them beginning to fracture. "Start letting me in instead." As Zaire held her gaze, the tension shifted into something more tender, a quiet understanding sparking in the air. Their hearts synchronized, two souls drawn together by the weight of vulnerability. "Then let's go through this together," he murmured, his voice a deep, soothing balm amidst the chaos surrounding them. "Together," she echoed softly, a brave smile breaking through the storm, her heart hesitating between fear and the promise of something beautiful. In that moment, with the skyline glittering defiantly outside, the hidden truths and complexities twined around them like the melody of the jazz. They had chosen to forge ahead, side by side, battling the rising tides of their tangled lives. Scene 33, Sparks in the Night. The faint aroma of burning wood wafted through the air, mingling with the cool breeze that ruffled the curtains of Sefina's small but vibrant studio. The room, illuminated by the soft glow of string lights draped haphazardly across the walls, pulsed with the colors of her latest artwork, a riot of oranges, blues, and purples, reminiscent of a sunset fighting for breath against encroaching night. Zaire leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed over his broad chest, a storm brewing in his chocolate-brown eyes. "Are you really going to paint tonight? You know it's a full moon. You should be focusing on the show," he said, biting back the edge of impatience in his tone. Sefina paused, her brush hovering above the canvas. "It's not just paint to me, Zaire. This is my therapy," she replied, her voice steady but laced with tension. "The show is important, but venting my thoughts on this canvas, that's how I regain my power." He pushed himself away from the counter, moving closer, the floor creaking under his weight. "Power or escape?" His words hung in the air, heavy and accusatory. "Excuse me?" Sefina snapped, feeling the heat rise in her cheeks. "Last I checked, I was the one battling demons, not you. You don't get to dictate my process." Zaire ran a hand through his dark curls, struggling to maintain his composure. "It isn't about dictation, Sefina. It's about concern. I don't want you to drown in this therapy while the storm outside mirrors what's brewing in this room." The wind howled outside, rattling the window panes. Sefina turned to face him, clutching her brush like a life raft. "Is that what you think? That I'm drowning? Maybe I'm just swimming in deeper waters than you're used to." Their gazes locked with palpable intensity, each strand of unspoken words tightening the air between them. Moments stretched, filled with breathless silence until Sefina broke it. "You don't actually know how to handle me, do you?" "Well, handling is an art form. You should know that." He took another step closer, the atmosphere shifting from argument to something that crackled like the lightning outside. "But I'm not sure you want to be handled." "Oh, I do," she teased, sarcasm dripping from her lips, an illusion of bravado against the pounding pulse of her heart. But only if you can manage it without breaking me. Zaire's expression softened, the tension slipping into an undercurrent of longing. I'm not trying to break you, Sefina. You're the artist here. Why would I destroy something beautiful? His sincerity washed over her, and the air thickened with the weight of shared truths and unspoken fears. She finally set her brush down, the soft thud breaking the standoff. You're a confusing contradiction. One minute you're locked down tight like a safe, and the next you're deeper than the ocean. He stepped even closer, the heady scent of cedarwood blending with the warmth of his presence. That's the danger of being a crime boss. It's all about protection and control. Sometimes I forget that what I want could just be you. I'm not a possession to be protected or controlled, Zaire, she stated, her voice lowering. I'm a storm, too. And storms can be calming, he countered softly, stepping into her personal space. We could harness that power together. The wind picked up outside, but inside, the atmosphere was electric, alive with the smell of oil paints and linseed, layered with the intensity of their moment. Zaire's gaze fell to her lips, then back to her eyes, pleading for permission to bridge the distance. With surprising boldness, Sefina leaned in, their breaths mingling. All this time, I thought I needed saving. You've shown me what I really want is to be known. Their foreheads touched, breath sinking. Zaire murmured, Then know this, Sefina. You're never alone, even when you feel like you're fighting the world. A tension released, and with it, he bent slightly, nearly brushing his lips against hers. What if we fought together? With a nervous laugh escaping her lips, Sefina whispered, Well, that sounds like the most dangerous partnership ever. Dangerous, but worth it, he answered, his voice low and steady as thunder rumbled outside. And in that charged moment, as they lingered there, the lines between art and reality blurred, and the storm outside felt like the echo of the tempest that raged quietly within them both. Scene 34. Ties that bind. A warm autumn breeze rustles through the vibrant orange and red leaves that cling to the trees outside the loft, each gust a reminder of the change that envelops them both. Inside, the scent of cardamom and cinnamon mingles with the rich aroma of dark coffee brewing in the corner. Sunlight filters through the tall windows, casting dappled shadows across the polished wooden floor, creating a tapestry of light and color that seems to dance in time with the growing tension in the room. Zaire leans against the counter, arms crossed, his dark eyes fixed on Sefina as she adjusts a canvas on an easel nearby. His stance is both protective and vulnerable, the juxtaposition of strength and uncertainty palpable. A vein in his jaw twitches, a telltale sign of the internal battle he fights, as Sefina brushes her fingers against the canvas as softly as a whisper. You know, every time you get lost in those colors, you look like you're slipping away, he says, breaking the silence, his voice a low rumble in the space between them. Sefina pauses, the paintbrush poised in her hand as if it holds the weight of the world. Maybe I am. Maybe that's the point, she replies, glancing back at him, her expression a blend of mischief and defiance. Why do you care? Zaire pushes off the counter, taking a step closer, the warmth of his body radiating a comforting heat. Because you're not alone. Not anymore, he says, an edge of urgency threading through his tone. He can feel the invisible wall between them, like a tension wire pulled taut. She sets the brush down, the soft clink of ceramic echoing in the room as she rolls her eyes, but a hint of a smile threatens to break through. Well, obviously, you're here dragging the mystery of your life along with you, she teases. Care to enlighten me on your dark and brooding past? His expression falters, eyes narrowing briefly before he shares a smirk that doesn't quite hide his vulnerability. It's not as glamorous as what you think, he admits. I didn't spend all those years leading some sort of elusive underworld. Actually, I spent a lot of time trying to do the right thing. She steps forward, curious now, her interest piqued. Like what? Saving stray cats? Handing out water bottles at protests? He chuckles softly, the sound deep and genuine. More like trying to piece together my family's legacy while avoiding becoming a villain in someone else's story. Sefina tilts her head, studying him. The air thrums with unspoken understanding, their shared struggles inching ever closer. That sounds heavy, she murmurs, her voice softer, brimming with empathy. Not as heavy as what you carry, though, Zaire counters, moving a fraction closer still. The pulsing rhythm of their hearts seems to synchronize. What if I don't want to reveal what's heavy? She challenges playfully, a glint of mischief sparking in her eyes. What if I prefer to stay wrapped in my own colors? Then you'd miss the potential for something brighter, he replies, leaning in just enough to punctuate his words with an intensity that electrifies the air between them. But that's your choice, Sefina. Just know colors fade without light. Sefina steps back slightly, surprised by the emotional clarity in his words. She wrestles with the truth of what he says, pulling in a breath. And what if that light is blinding? She asks, her hand brushing against the edge of the canvas, seeking solace in the familiar. I'd rather face the light than hide in the dark, Zaire declares, earnestness weaving through his tone, especially when there's someone worth protecting, like you. Their eyes lock, a moment of shared silence enveloping them, charged with an unspoken promise, the very air around them thick with possibility. Sefina swallows hard, her heart pounding as she steps closer to him, a newfound determination sparking behind her gaze. Then maybe I won't hide anymore, she whispers, her breath hitching in her throat. The distance closes. Each heartbeat pulses louder than the last, urging them together. Zaire's warm hand reaches out, fingers grazing her cheek with a tenderness both fragile and electric. Together, then, he says softly, his voice barely above a murmur, containing galaxies of uncharted emotions. The vulnerability in his eyes calls to her, both inviting and terrifying. Together, she agrees, the weight of their words heavy yet exhilarating, a commitment rippling like a current between them. In that heartbeat, they both understand this is just the beginning, a binding promise fraught with sincerity and unyielding trust, as vibrant and beautiful as the colors on her canvas. Scene 35, Confronting Fears. The storm rolled in over the city, dark clouds swirling ominously overhead as rain began to pelt against the windows of Sefina's art studio. The dim lighting cast sharp shadows across unfinished canvases, swirling hues of blue and gray reflecting Sefina's inner turmoil. Each drop of rain seemed to echo her heartbeat fast and erratic as she stared at the half-finished piece that depicted a chaotic landscape, a mirror of her own mind. Zaire stood at the threshold, his tall frame silhouetted against the turbulent light outside, like a guardian against the chaos of her world. His presence was a source of warmth, drawing her toward the door that separated them from the tempest. Sefina, he said softly, his voice steady despite the rain's ferocity, you can't keep running from this. She turned sharply, her frustration boiling over. Running? Zaire, I'm trying to survive. These, she gestured wildly at the chaos of her studio, are all just layers of my life that are peeling away. I don't even know if I want to finish any of this. Zaire stepped inside, the scent of his cologne mixing with the damp air, creating an intoxicating blend that both grounded and unnerved her. It's not just about the art, and you know that. His gaze held hers, unflinching. You're afraid to let anyone see the real you. You hide behind these canvases when what you need to do is face your fears head on. Face my fears? Sefina laughed, sharp and brittle, like glass shattering. What do you know about fear? You live in shadows, Zaire. You have your own secrets. She pushed the words out between clenched teeth, feeling the weight of vulnerability clawing at her throat. He took a step closer, the distance between them disappearing. Those shadows exist because I've had to protect myself and you. I don't want you to be another ghost I carry. The sincerity in his voice washed over her, challenging the storm inside her heart. Sefina shook her head, struggling under the weight of his gaze. You don't understand. Every time I feel like I take a step forward, something pulls me back. It's easier to be alone. There was a pause, silence filling the room as rain drummed a frantic rhythm against the glass. Zaire could sense the storm within her, the wild, tempestuous emotions battling for control. You think I don't know what it's like to feel alone? He scoffed lightly, a hint of humor piercing the tension. Have you seen my social media? I'm practically a hermit. She couldn't help but smile, even if it was fleeting. You know, you have to post more than just your workout selfies if you want to seem relatable. His laugh echoed, the kind that burst with sincerity. I'll take that under advisement. But seriously, Sefina, you don't need to do this alone. Let me help you, please. Let me be part of your journey. Taking a deep breath, she folded her arms as if shielding herself from his earnestness. What if I can't? What if I fail? What if... Stop. His voice was hardened now, calming the air. What if you take a chance? What if you let someone in? What if we face the world together? Zaire reached out, brushing a stray curl from her face, his fingers lingering as he searched her eyes. What do you really want? The tenderness in his touch ignited a spark within her, fighting against her fears. I want to feel like I belong, Zaire, she finally admitted, her voice faltering. But I don't know how to let you in. At that, his expression softened, revealing a glimpse of the intensity beneath his guarded nature. You belong with me, Sefina. There was a warmth in his voice that offered comfort amid the chaos. The rain began to fade, and sunlight seeped through the clouds, illuminating the room. It felt like a new beginning. She stepped closer, emboldened by his presence. Okay, then challenge accepted, but no more workout selfies, all right? Zaire chuckled, his eyes dancing with delight. I promise, only stunning art in my feed. As their laughter faded, an understanding settled between them, a powerful connection forged from vulnerability. This was not just about saving her. It was a moment of reclamation of her own power, an invitation to trust and love in its tender complexity. Let's find our strength together, Zaire. The sincerity in her voice held the promise of something more, something intricate and beautiful, much like the art she yearned to create. Scene 36, in the crosshairs. The storm outside crackled with energy, lightning casting manic shadows across the room where Sefina Agbo sat in her dimly lit studio. The scent of wet earth seeped through the open window, mingling with the rich aroma of oil paints. She stared at the unfinished canvas before her, brush poised, but the storm was inside her head, two confusions swirling like the wind outside. Suddenly, a sharp knock disrupted her thoughts, and she jumped, the brush falling from her hands. Who is it? She called, a flicker of anxiety knitting her brow. Sefina, let me in, it's Zaire. His voice came through with urgency, cutting through the thunder outside. With a quick leap, she crossed the room, swinging the door open. Zaire stepped inside, rain-soaked and breathless. His hair, now darker and more gleaming from the downpour, framed his face, amplifying the intensity of his gaze. The juxtaposition of his fierce demeanor against the storm's chaos made her heart already on edge race. He's coming for you, he said, a seriousness in his tone that immediately shrouded her studio in tension. Who? She asked, panic bubbling as the reality of their world seeped back into her mind. A vile invader. Leonidas, we need to move, Zaire snapped, scanning the room as if danger lurked under her easel. Sefina felt the panic rise, but something steadied her voice, allowing her control. Are you sure? I thought. Zaire interrupted, kneeling down to be almost eye level with her, a fierce protectiveness radiating from him. You saw what you weren't supposed to, Sefina. Remember the meeting you overheard? He won't let that slide. The wind howled outside, rattling the window, mirroring the tempest brewing within her. She had always prided herself on being independent, but this was a level of chaos she was ill-equipped to handle without him. So what's the plan? With an exasperated sigh, Zaire stood, moving toward her cluttered table. First, we gather your essentials. No time for hesitation. He grabbed a bag, starting to throw in her sketchbooks, some clothes, and a bottle of water. Sefina watched him, caught between admiration and a sense of urgency that made her throat tight. You really think he's that, what's the word, unhinged? Unhinged? I'd say he's more of an avalanche, slow to start, but impossible to stop once he's rolling. Zaire chuckled suddenly, but his laughter was tainted with anxiety. And you don't want to be the poor village caught in his path. Under heavy clouds that made the room feel like dusk, their eyes locked for a moment, a shared understanding solidifying the bond between them. Okay. I'll grab a few personal items, Sefina said decisively, retreating to her bedroom. Yet, as she rummaged through her belongings, doubt seeped in. What if they really needed to run and she left something crucial behind? She took a breath, trying to ground herself. Just then, she heard Zaire's voice from the living room, low and tense. We just have to stay ahead of him. Who says I need saving, Zaire? She called back, half defiant, half amused. He appeared at the door, raising an eyebrow. I'm going to need you to trust me on this one. Sefina stepped out, her arms tense as she grabbed her bag, one hand still holding a small sketchbook. It's just like old times, huh? You playing the hero again, saving me from the unknown? Careful, or I just might fall for your charm. Zaire smirked, his lips curving at her tease, but his eyes remained serious, the storm outside reaching its climax. You do know that mystical creatures always lurk in the shadows, right? She rolled her eyes, grateful for the levity he brought into this horrid moment. And here I thought I traded in the fairy tales for criminal underworlds. Who says you can't have both? Zaire shot back, the tension breaking ever so slightly as they moved toward the door together. Suddenly, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed outside, heavy and deliberate. Zaire's expression fell, and he pulled her closer, dropping his voice to a murmur. Get behind me. The storm roared outside, but within, the pulse of fear and the electricity of something more profound crackled between them. Sefina's heart raced, not just from the looming danger, but from the undeniable closeness, the fierce protection that felt as natural as breathing. Ready? He whispered, and as their eyes met, a silent agreement hung between them, forging their destinies as one. Always. Scene 37. Plotting the escape. The dim light of the cafe flickered as Zaire and Sefina huddled over a small table in the far corner, the smell of rich coffee mingling with the distant whir of the espresso machine. Outside, rain drew a relentless rhythm against the window, each drop echoing the tension that hung between them. Zaire could feel his heart racing, not just from the danger they faced, but from the intoxicating proximity to Sefina. Okay, so we need a plan, he said, his deep voice steadying the air around them. He leaned in closer, the warmth of his presence wrapping around her like a protective blanket. First, we'll gather supplies. Then we're getting out of here. Sefina's dark eyes sparkled with a mixture of fear and defiance. You make it sound easy, but there are people who want to end that plan, Zaire. A flash of anxiety crossed her face, a stark contrast to her usual fierce composure. What if they catch us? They won't, he assured her, his gaze locked onto hers. Have you ever seen me lose? Sefina chuckled nervously, a rich, melodic sound that seemed to lift the weight of their predicament, if only for a moment. Well, once when you tried to dance at that wedding. Remember? You were banned from the dance floor for life. A broad grin spread across Zaire's face, and for an instant the threat outside faded. Hey, in my defense, no one warned me about the electric slide. He leaned back, arms crossed in mock thought. Clearly, my skills are in negotiation, not choreography. Sefina's laughter filled the small space, drawing glimpses from other patrons. It was a beautiful sound, a rare reminder of joy amidst the chaos they faced. But just as quickly, her smile faded, replaced with a somber thought. What if we fail? Zaire reached across the table, his fingers brushing against hers, igniting a spark that shimmered between them. Look at me, Sefina. We won't fail, he said fiercely. I promise you that. Her breath caught for a moment, and Zaire noted the vulnerability swirling in her eyes. It stirred a fierce protectiveness within him. This woman, so deeply spirited yet afraid to trust, was everything he had come to admire. You've been through hell, but you're stronger than you think. Sefina glanced down, as if searching for the words in the table's grain. You're just saying that. I'm not strong, I'm tired. Then lean on me, he offered quietly, feeling a rush of tenderness that transcended the dire situation. You don't have to face this alone. She hesitated for a long moment, a battle playing behind her eyes. Zaire was surprised when her fingers tightened around his, a fragile acceptance of his support. I don't want to be a burden, Zaire. That's not how this works. You're not a burden. You're my partner in this. Can you trust me? Something shifted in her demeanor, the tension in her shoulders lowering, allowing a glimmer of hope to flicker in her expression. I want to. I really do, she breathed, brushing her thumb against the back of his hand softly, almost reverently. Zaire's heart thumped loudly, the intimacy of their connection hanging in the air like a charged storm waiting to unleash. We'll find a way out, he said, locking her gaze with his own. Together. Just then, a commotion erupted at the entrance. Two figures stormed in, their voices slicing through the ambiance as they scanned the room. Zaire's instincts kicked in, adrenaline flooding his veins. Stay low, he hissed, squeezing Sefina's hand tighter as they ducked beneath the table, just as shadows moved closer. Are they looking for us? Sefina whispered, her breath warm and sweet against his cheek. Panic clawed in her voice, but Zaire pressed his finger gently against her lips. "We'll be okay," he muttered, heart pounding with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. It was thrilling in a twisted sense. Their lives were in danger, yet in this moment, with her beside him and trusting him, he felt a pulse of intimacy that transcended their tumultuous reality. He could smell her perfume, a heady mix of citrus and warmth, igniting an undercurrent of desire deep within him. "Just hold on to me." She nodded against him, her trust intertwining with his resolve. "What's the plan, then?" Zaire's head spun with possibilities, but as the shadows continued searching, he realized the most effective plan lay not just in escape, but in understanding the depth of the bond they were forging amidst the storm. "First rule of escaping trouble," he said softly, "never lose sight of what you care for most." Her eyes met his, and in that charged moment, Zaire felt a spark of something far greater than fear, something that would bind them together through even the darkest shadows. Scene 38, Undercurrents of Desire. The quiet hum of the city below seeped through the cracked window of the loft, mingling with the scent of freshly brewed coffee and something more intoxicating: electricity, anticipation. Sefina Agbo stood by the kitchen island, her fingers nervously tracing the rim of a chipped porcelain cup, her heart racing not from caffeine, but from the man who had just entered her space. Zaire Oladipo, tall and commanding, filled the doorway like a storm ready to unleash its fury. "Sefina, we need to talk about this, whatever this is," Zaire said, his voice low, simmering with barely contained frustration. He gestured vaguely between them, and Sefina could feel the air thicken with unsaid thoughts. "This," she echoed, attempting a lightness that fell flat. "You mean my witnessing your extracurricular activities?" The quip hung in the air, laced with tension, as if they had danced this delicate waltz before. He crossed the room, the floorboards creaking under his weight, each step a reminder of the unyielding path they treaded. "You act as if it's all so simple, like I'm just some dramatic villain in your story." His voice edged towards something deeper, each word weighted by a complexity that threatened to unravel the charade. Sefina tilted her head, refusing to back down. "You put me in danger, Zaire. Is that part of your charming villain act?" She clenched her fists, feeling the frustration boil beneath her skin. The memories of what she saw flickered through her mind, shadows that twisted into uncertainty. "You think I want this for you?" He shot back, his voice rising just enough to break the fragile balance. "You think I enjoy watching you teeter on the edge of something I can't fully explain?" Silence enveloped them, punctuated only by the distant blare of a car horn. In that charged moment, Sefina's breath caught as she searched his stormy gaze, feeling pulled into the depths of something she both feared and craved. The vulnerability between them crackled like fire. "I don't want to be your secret or your problem," she whispered, taking a half step back, her heart pounding in her chest like a thunderous drum. Zaire's expression softened, frustration melting into earnestness. He stepped forward, and the space between them felt like a taut line, ready to snap. "I never wanted you to feel that way. You're not a problem to me, Sefina. You're everything, and that's why it's complicated." She arched an eyebrow, a teasing sparkle in her eyes. "Is that your way of confessing your love? Because it sounds a bit like you're saying you just want to keep me in a glass box labeled 'Do Not Touch.'" He chuckled, shaking his head as if trying to shake off the tension. "You know I can't do that, but I can't lose you either. Not like this." His voice dropped an octave, smooth like velvet, as he stepped even closer. The warmth emanating from him was enveloping, and she felt her breath hitch as if she was caught in a current. "You're not losing me, Zaire, but don't you think I deserve the truth?" Her gaze held his, unwavering and heated. This ardent exchange struck a rhythm between them, a dance they had both felt but never truly performed. "Let me take care of it," he said, his tone firm, but his eyes, oh, those eyes betrayed a desperation that twisted her heart. "I can protect you. I can keep this, whatever this is, safe. But you need to trust me." "And trust is a slippery thing," she replied, her voice barely a whisper. Yet, beneath the surface, they both knew trust was what connected them, the tender, fragile thread that had remained unbroken even amidst chaos. "Then don't let it slip away." He moved closer still, their breaths mingling as he lifted a hand to tuck a loose strand of hair behind her ear, an intimate gesture that sent a shiver down her spine. "Sefina," he murmured, his voice low and intent, "let me be your safety." And then, in that split second of electric vulnerability, their worlds collided. They were no longer mere survivors of circumstance, but two souls yearning for connection, inhaling the air heavy with possibility and unspoken truth. Scene 39. Unmasking the enemy. Heavy rain poured down, blurring the outlines of the city beyond the glass window. Sefina stared at the droplets racing each other down the pane, her heart racing in sync as she turned to Zaire, who stood rigid across the room. The storm outside mirrored the tempest within. "What the hell is going on, Zaire?" she demanded, her voice steady despite the whirlpool of emotions pulling at her. Zaire's brow furrowed, a storm brewing within his dark eyes. "It's not what it looks like." He ran a hand through his thick hair, the moisture from the air only adding to the gravity of the moment. "My rival, he's using you." Sefina snorted, disbelief seeping into her tone. "You think I'm some pawn in your little game? You've been keeping secrets from me." She stepped closer, her frustration flaring. "You said you'd protect me, yet here I am aware that I'm being manipulated, but in the dark about everything else." Zaire took a step forward, closing the gap, the scent of his cologne mixing with the petrichor flooding through the half-open window. "You think I enjoy this?" His voice dropped to a low rumble, laced with hurt and urgency. "I've sacrificed too much for you. This isn't a game. It's life or death." Sefina crossed her arms defiantly, her lips pursed as she recalled the late-night conversations that had pulled her deeper into his life instead of pushing her away. "Everything feels like a game to you, Zaire. You're the one living in shadows, and you expect me to just trust you?" He shook his head, the intensity in his gaze sharpening like glass. "Trust is all we have left. I can't keep threatening your safety while shielding you from the truth. He won't stop until he destroys everything I care about, starting with you." The wind howled outside, rattling the window frames, a stark reminder of the chaos swirling beyond their walls. Sefina felt the weight of that chaos creeping closer, an impending encroachment. "Maybe you don't get it. I'm not scared of the truth. I'm scared of becoming a part of your world. I've fought too hard for my independence to be caught in the crossfire. And I have fought to protect you." He shot back, his voice a tempest, revealing a flicker of vulnerability she had yet to see. "By lying to me?" She couldn't hold back the sharpness of her words, the swell of emotions spilling over as if the damned dam burst. "Tell me what's going on with your rivals there, or I swear." "Or what?" He advanced closer, the tension between them thickening. "You'll walk away? You think that's the answer?" The rain pounded harder, a wall of sound, and Sefina fought to keep her composure. "Maybe I should. That's the easy way out." Zaire's voice softened, slicing through the tumult. "You don't really want to run away from this. You want to fight with me." Sefina's heart raced, a mix of anger and yearning twisting within her. "You don't know anything about what I want." Zaire stepped closer, the air crackling between them like static. "Oh, I think I do. I've seen the way you look at me, like I'm your lifeline. I am not your enemy, Sefina. Until we resolve this, I can't let you get too close, but you're everything I never knew I wanted." The raindrops cascaded down the glass, but inside, the heat hummed between them, a curious blend of urgency and desire. She opened her mouth to argue, but found herself caught in his gaze, a fierce commitment simmering, desperately yearning for more than just survival. "Zaire," she uttered, her voice trembling. "You can't keep me in the dark about this." "I promise next time we can dim the lights together," he said, his lips curling into a teasing smile that broke the tension. "Just have to survive this storm first." "Lightning may strike twice," she quipped, softening, "but I'm not sure I'll survive it." His laughter, free and rich, warmed the chill in the room, igniting a flicker of hope. "You will. I won't let the storm win." And for the first time, Sefina believed him just a little. Every layer of their reality drew them closer, threats, secrets, and the promise of something deeper waiting to break free. Scene 40, Brink of Betrayal. The sleek black interior of the club throbbed with a pulsating bass, the air thick with a sweet scent of vanilla mixed with the unmistakable tang of anxiety. Sefina stood at the bar, her fingertips dancing nervously on the polished wood. the dim lights casting shadows that flickered like her uncertain thoughts. Zaire leaned against the bar beside her, his eyes scanning the crowd, a mix of polished suits and daring outfits that echoed the tension simmering between them. Why wouldn't he answer me? Sefina's voice sliced through the music, her frustration palpable. He's always been so reliable, and now, nothing. She glanced towards Zaire, but the intensity of his gaze made her hesitate. He has his reasons, Zaire replied, his jaw clenched, the muscle ticking beneath his skin. But you need to stay focused on what matters. We can't afford distractions. Distractions. Sefina's laugh was sharp, bitter. This is my life we're talking about. How can I not be distracted when you're wrapped up in? She caught herself, the words nearly spilling over, a damning acknowledgement of the shadows wrapped around Zaire's dealings. Wrapped up? Zaire interrupted, taking a step closer, his body radiating heat. You've no idea what I'm protecting you from, Sefina. His voice dropped to a dangerous whisper, fueled by a mix of frustration and an undercurrent of something softer. Then tell me! She shot back, her green eyes sparking with defiance, a rebellious fire that contrasted sharply with the internal storm swirling inside her. Stop treating me like a child. I deserve to know the truth. His features softened momentarily as he sighed, the tension easing in his posture, but then the door swung open with a crack that echoed through the dim space, and all eyes turned. From the shadows emerged Kingston, a member of Zaire's crew, his sly smile both charming and unsettling, the edge of treachery glistening beneath his friendly exterior. Did I hear someone say truth? Kingston called out, his voice smooth, casual, as if he were merely greeting friends at a party. He ambled over, but the weight of his arrival was like a shadow stretching over their moment. Evening, Sefina. I hope I'm not interrupting anything. Passionate. Not yet, Sefina quipped, her sarcasm thinly veiling her discomfort, but her words hung like a challenge in the air. Zaire's eyes narrowed, mistrust brewing. What do you want, Kingston? Just checking on my favorite duo, Kingston replied, amusement dancing in his eyes. You two lovebirds look like you're ready to dive into a scandalous affair. He feigned innocence, but his gaze lingered too long on Sefina, sending an involuntary shiver down her spine. Get to the point, Zaire warned, his tone low and threatening. A tense muscle in his jaw rippled with unspoken patience, the room around them shrinking in on their confrontation. Relax, Zaire. I wouldn't dream of stealing your thunder. Kingston's laughter felt like ice scraping against metal, his posture casual despite the charged atmosphere. I've got something you might want to hear, a little whisper of disloyalty lurking in the shadows of your operation. What do you mean? Sefina interjected, her heart racing, the air crackling with tension. Someone's been selling you out, someone inside your circle. Kingston's smile widened, insights gleaming in his eyes as he leaned closer. Careful who you trust, my friend. Zaire's back straightened, tension rippling through him like an electric current. Which one? Ah, now that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Kingston feigned a smirk, the glint of mischief underlined by something darker. But there's a hint. Follow the money, Zaire. You'll find your traitor in the most unexpected places. Sefina felt her heart plummet into the pit of her stomach, the stakes amplifying with every word spoken. The warmth they had shared moments ago now ignited into a chilly recognition of fracture and potential betrayal. Get out, Zaire said, his voice icy, that careful charisma slipping into something sharp and jagged. Consider this a warning, Kingston said, amusement flickering across his features. But as he turned to leave, the smirk faded to a cool mask, a predator retreating momentarily, leaving uncertainty in his wake. Sefina looked up at Zaire, the fire of anger and hurt igniting between them like a wave crashing on a shore. Do you even see what's happening? We're spiraling into chaos, and you're still holding back. What's your plan? To protect me by shutting me out? Zaire's expression shifted, vulnerability flashing across his features. I'm not shutting you out. I'm trying to keep you safe. But her heart raced in defiance, a spark igniting within. I can handle the truth, she declared, stepping into his space unyielding. But only if you let me in. The tension hung in the air, thick and electric, as their breaths mingled like unsaid emotions, chaos brimming around them, even amidst their shared pulse. Zaire's gaze softened, the weight of the world resting on the edge of his shoulders. Then let's face it together, he said, the promise of partnership igniting a flicker of hope within the darkness. As their hands edged together, the shadows around them shifted, encasing their connection in urgency and vulnerability. Together, Sefina echoed, her voice alight with a newfound determination, their secrets binding them even closer, even as the dangers loomed ever larger. Together. 41. Flashbacks and foresight. Rain drenched the city, sending rivulets cascading down the windows of Zaire's penthouse. Sefina stood at the enormous glass frame, her reflection flickering as she pressed her forehead against the cool surface, the world outside a blur of muted colors. Thunder rumbled in the distance, mirroring the rising tension of their conversation. "Do you ever think about how we got here?" she asked, her voice barely catching above the storm. Zaire leaned against the kitchen island, arms folded, a brooding figure against the backdrop of the intense weather. The scent of his rich espresso blended with the damp air, a grounding presence amidst the chaotic storm outside. "Every day, Sefina," he replied, his voice low and textured like the storm itself. "And I'm starting to wonder if change is even possible." "What do you mean?" She spun around, her fingers running through her curls, a nervous habit he had come to know well. "I mean, look at us. We're caught in this whirlwind, and He drifted off, staring into the distance, lost in the ghosts of decisions past. Memories clawed at him, mistakes made in darkness, promises broken in silence. Sefina advanced toward him, her eyes fierce. "You can't keep folding under the weight of your past, Zaire. I'm not the only one struggling here. You act like you're still that man from before." "It's hard to put that man to rest when he keeps getting reminders," he snapped, a flash of anger in his eyes that quickly softened. "I didn't want this for you, for us. It was supposed to be different." Different? Or was it just easier? Her voice rose like the rain crashing against the pavement. "You think that's going to scare me off? You care about me. I know you do. You've just been hiding yourself behind that armor for too long." Zaire pushed away from the island, his heart racing as he took a few steps toward her, closing the distance. "Hiding is just self-preservation. It's what I know." He looked down, regret flooding his features. "I can't afford to lose you. Not like this." The air crackled with anticipation as she drew nearer, her breath catching as a sudden bolt of lightning illuminated the room, casting dancing shadows across their faces. "But are you even allowing me to see you? Or are you just letting me be your distraction?" she challenged, pushing him to reveal his truth. "Maybe I need that distraction, Sefina," he burst out, emotions swirling like the storm outside. "Maybe I'm scared of what I might find if I try to be more than just your shelter." Sefina didn't flinch, her gaze penetrating. "Is that what you think I want? You to be my shelter?" She laughed lightly, an echo of disbelief amid the brewing storm. "I need you to be strong, not just a wall I can lean on." He stepped back slightly, as if her words had genuinely struck him. "Strong? You want me to show strength? What if I can't? Then we'll figure it out together." Her voice softened, a warm breeze amidst the chill of their intense confrontation. "But you have to be vulnerable with me. We can't build anything real if we're both hiding." She reached for his hand, their fingers entwining, the touch igniting a comforting spark between them. Zaire's heart raced, torn between the safety of the past and the risk of the present. "You really think I can shed my skin, after everything I've done?" "Yes," she breathed, her sincerity wrapping around him like a silken thread. "But you need to let go of the guilt first. We're here now. It's time to face it." As the rain intensified, Zaire could almost hear the echoes of his past battling against the promise of a new beginning. "I saw darkness in my choices, but it's hard to believe I can choose otherwise now." "You're more than your choices, Zaire. You're not just a reflection of your past." Her voice was urging, tender yet firm. "And I think," she paused, hesitating for a heartbeat, "I think you need to let it go, for both our sakes." Lightning struck again, momentarily illuminating the room, and in that stark brightness, he found clarity mingling with fear. "Then how? How do I reinvent myself for you?" Her smile flickered like a candle against the storm, fragile, bright, and hopeful. "By trusting me as you've trusted no one else. It's the only way forward." He took a deep breath, letting her words wash over him, invigorating yet terrifying. His gaze locked onto hers, and the storm raged outside as their hearts began to clear the storm within. "I'll try." "Good enough," Sefina said, eyes sparkling with determination. "Try is all I need from you for now." Outside, the rain poured on, but within the walls of the penthouse a new dawn began to break. Scene 42, turn of events. The sun hung low over the New York skyline, casting warm hues of amber and gold across the small kitchen where Sefina Agbo had been slicing ripe avocados, the creamy flesh glistening under the warm light. The steady rhythm of her knife against the cutting board was unusually meditative for a woman who thrived in chaos. She glanced over her shoulder, catching Zaire Oladipo leaning against the doorway, arms crossed, the muscles in his forearms straining against the tailored fabric of his shirt.